You are listening to Authentic Reflections. The Chasna of Menachem and Tali, Tuesday, July 5th, 2022. 7:35, and we are about to start the chuppah.
Kindly silence your cell phones. Thank you so much.
It's an unbelievable chasana. I've never been to a chasana like this. The entire place feels like family. And what the interesting thing is, this is the only chasana. I do not know anybody here except for the chasan and maybe the chasan's family. Yet, it's the only chasana where the whole place feels like family. I think it's the woo-hoos. When various people were called up to the chuppah, the woo-hoos give it a very Hamish feeling. People were given proper kavod, lots and lots of ruach, and it was people's own initiative. You can tell nobody felt pressure to do this ruach, to make this ruach. You're about to hear a recording that I made outside of the Chasana building. There was a lot of wind. Sometimes it's hard to hear me. The simcha of the Chasana tonight, I think, is the greatest simcha that I have ever felt at any Chasana. I don't think I have ever witnessed or have been present at a Chasana with more ruach than this. My wife asked me, do you think that is a Menachem thing or a Menshel thing? And it's an excellent question. So our conclusion was the dancing that took place going down the aisle, that was a Menshel thing. But the rest of the stuff was a Menachem thing. The fact that in between each and every bracha, not only was there Levitic music, Levitic singing, which not only that, but definitely a Menachem thing for it to have been announced that those that feel that it was something along the lines that those that feel the necessity or those that feel the ruach, if they feel the need to do so, they could dance and sing. If you don't feel the need to do so, then don't. Only those that felt the need, but everybody felt the need. So it was, and then it's not only there was Levitic music that everybody sang at their own initiative, but the music changed, the nigunim, the songs changed in between each and every bracha. The songs changed to one which was at least on par on the Levitic scale of 1 to 10, at least on par, if not greater than the one before. The choice of songs and nigunim was mamish top notch. It's like unbelievable. The woo-hoos I loved. I absolutely loved all the woo, and I'm referring to the woo-hoos of being, when people, it was a way of giving kavod to those that were being called up, they were being honored to say a bracha, and it was even done to Rabbanim. There's a relationship. And when you have a relationship, a family type of relationship, you can say that's what the woo-hoo represents, even when you have a rabbi coming up. Someone said to me that if it was outside the context of a close relationship, people could say, why is there a woo-hoo? But there should be something else. But when it's done within this context, and maybe they don't realize that such a context exists, but there is such a thing. I think everyone here tonight is full of simcha. And nobody looks pressured at all. It's currently July 6th, Wednesday afternoon. We are on the airplane back to Chicago, and I'm sitting next to my wife, and her name is, tell people what your name is.
Sarit Lefton.
And her name is Sarit Lefton. And I'm going to ask her right now, what were your impressions of the Chazana? Or what was the most inspirational moment at the Chazana?
I think my favorite part was when the Chassid was walking down the aisle and all of his siblings, he was walking down the aisle with his parents, and all of the siblings came and danced together with him in the middle of the aisle. And that to me was so beautiful to see the achdus and the love that was between all the siblings and the parents. It was just beautiful to watch. And the chuppah in general was just full of simcha and ruach. It was beautiful.
And the thing you were just telling me before, let's see if I could word it as a question, and if you're able to answer the question. So, what so we were speaking about how you knew right away that we're dealing with the airplane announcer has something to say right now. So
seatbelt signs illuminated. I'd like to remind you to make sure your seatbelts are securely fastened and remain seated for the duration of the flight. This afternoon, we're scheduled to park Terminal 3, Gate H15. Once again, that's for Terminal 3, and it's H15 will be our arrival gate. If you're making a connection on other American Airlines, American Eagle, or one of our One World partner flights, the easiest way to obtain your connection information is on aa.com on your mobile device. You'll always find
we're just gonna. I'm afraid it's gonna. Disconnects the internet. This thing is gonna go bad. So.
Open your browser up using the.
Someone was mentioning that the Menshels are expert mechanchim, and so Sarit said that yes, that she knows right away. What was it about last night that you knew right away that we're dealing with expert mechanchim?
Because each of their children, no matter what way they chose to be hashkafically, was very deeply connected to their Yiddishkeit. And you could see that in their midos, in the way that they connected to each other. It was a beautiful thing to watch. And the chiduch showed.
What were your thoughts about the children playing on the violin?
It takes a lot of talent and a lot of chachma to play the violin. I had a friend who played the violin, and it's a very difficult instrument to play, so kol hakavod to your niece who's able to do it.
But I don't think she was actually playing the violin, was she? I think she was just, she made it look like she was playing the violin. So if she was playing the violin, so then kol hakavod to her. If she was not playing the violin, then also kol hakavod to her for being Mesameach Lechasan and Galop.
I don't think she was actually playing the violin during the shtick, but it was clear that it was her violin, and she is learning to play it.
One thing that I'll say that hasn't been said yet is just David Menchel's son looks exactly like a Menchel. It's the way it looks exactly like the Menchels, the way they were when they grew up in St. Louis. The St. Louis Menchel, it's a mixture of like a little Yair mixed with a little Menachem, so it was very recognizable that child was a Menchel. His name is Eli, and we wish Eli Mazel Tov along with the rest of the family. Do you have anything more to say? I said to my wife earlier, you won't find a Chicago chasna like this. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, just nobody's on their phone. Everyone's participating in the simcha. I think whether it's a Menachem thing or whether it's a Menchel thing, you've outdone whatever the expectations are of a ruach of a chasna done by the Menchels. This is, I can't think of any way you can get better than this. And I know, the chasna's not over yet. And I know there are going to be things that are going to happen between now and the end. New creative ways to get even more ruach into a chasna that's already jam-packed with ruach, with people who want the ruach. My wife said the chuppah was long, but boy was it enjoyable. Menachem, I know that I've known you from the time you were very, very little, and we became very, very close friends. From what I remember, we became very close friends in 4th grade. I remember 4th grade in particular. I don't remember 3rd grade being very close friends. We knew each other, but 4th grade, that's when the whole me, you, Mordechai Raskis, and there was Ari, Avi, and Yishai. They were, I don't know, we had this whole thing going with the walkie-talkies, and then there was a lot going on. 5th grade, I remember you went to 5th grade, you went to Eretz Yisrael. I believe it was 5th grade. And we missed you very much. And then 6th grade, it's possible you went for, 6th grade you came back. Maybe it was 6th grade you went. But I think it was 5th grade because the summer after 6th grade, me and you went to Camp Chaverim together. And I see if I can remember a memory from Camp Chaverim. Nothing comes to mind at the moment, but I remember the daddy long leg spiders on day one. I think you had less of a fear of them than I did. Actually, a big memory I had from that summer of 1994 was my visiting day. We were both discussing what's going to happen when my father comes. Is my father going to first give me a shalom aleichem and then you? Or is he going to come and he's going to say, hey, Menachem, and then totally ignore me? And sure enough, he said, hey, Menachem. And it was just very funny. That's one distinct memory that I have. We went to Camp Kayetz together. You left very difficult to leave school after 7th grade. But anyways, we went to Camp Kayetz together. I remember that I got the Menachem Menchel Award. You got the Simcha Lefton Award. So you don't need a greater proof than that to show that we were very, very close friends. And we stayed in touch, solidly in touch over high school, without a doubt. 12th grade, that Simchas Torah, what an awesome Simchas Torah when you came back to St. Louis. I remember the Sefer Torah, it was not dropped. It was classic. And then we went to Eretz Yisrael. We did lose some touch with each other. There were tekufas, I think we lost touch with each other. But and then we had that sleepover in 2001. We stayed up all night. Then we met a little bit in Morosh Kolo 2003, not too much. And you came to my there was on and off, and then recently we've been in touch with each other, at least until you got engaged. And I'm really so besimcha for you. It's not just I'm so besimcha, I am besimcha, and this chasana it feels like a very timimistic chasana. Maybe there's a lot, I don't know, maybe it has to do with the COVID thing, maybe chasanas are different now, but this is very special and very unique. You know, there's an Indian to praise the chassan to the kala, and an Indian to praise the kala to the chassan. So we have the kali here, Tali, and as she knows, she is marrying someone who has midos, the midos of a leader, the exact midos that HaKadosh Baruch Hu looked for to choose who Hashem wants to be the leader of the Jewish people. Nosei B'ol Chavero was really top-notch. That's what I remember what Chazal say in regards to Moshe Rabbeinu. We know the story about that sheep. The sheep was thirsty, and Moshe Rabbeinu was running after the sheep. He didn't know the sheep was thirsty, but at the very end, when he realized the sheep was thirsty, he's like, "Oh, I didn't realize. If only I would have known that you're thirsty." And when Hashem saw that, when Hashem saw the care and the pain that he felt, even for an animal, Hashem said, "I want him to be the shepherd of my people." You don't need me to tell you that Menachem has a nosei b'ol chavero that it's a gift. I think it's a gift, and there's other parts that are special that I don't think the ordinary person has. In addition to nosei b'ol chavero, Menachem is authentic. I think that's and he utilizes all of himself. All of himself is utilized when it comes to helping others, because he utilizes all of his own experiences. Nothing has been skipped. A lot of us, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, we say, listen, we were immature, we did things like whatever, and now we're different. But then there are a few people that don't do it that way. And I was part of a chaplaincy program, and I learned in this CPE program where that's one of the things that they teach you in becoming a chaplain is to look back at those years. And no, you don't say you're immature. You remember all those experiences. And actually, there was a lot of maturity because they told you you're immature. Therefore, the things you did in kindergarten were immature. No, there was a lot of kosher stuff that was done, and a lot of hardship because people were misunderstood. A lot of people are misunderstood a lot of times. Kindergartners are a lot of times much greater kindergartners than they even think, but there's a lot of miscommunication. But Menachem, from the very beginning, had very good traits from the beginning, and he utilizes all of those experiences. It's difficult to do this, but to remember back at all of those experiences and remember what the frustrations were and what his good points were, and he remembers that, and that helps him relate to other people who are going through the same difficult thing. And also, this is what motivates Menachem. I think this is what motivates you. I think you've even told me this, that you want to make the educational system better. You want to improve the educational system. And it's because you don't just take the easy route. The easy route is just skip those years. We don't know what happened. We don't know. But no, we go back to those years and remember the good points and the good things and the times that people felt, or you felt that you were not listened to, and how this is an overall problem within the chinuch system. And this gives a person a potential far above anyone, far above other people. You know, the Gemara says that by Avraham Avinu, 172 out of 175 years were utilized to serve Hashem. So there's a big question. The Rambam says Avram Avinu didn't discover Hashem till he was 48, or perhaps some other year. So we're all told about the Medrash that he discovered Hashem at the age of 3. The reason why there's Midrashim that say he discovered Hashem at the age of 3, the source for that is the Gemara. If 172 out of 175 years were utilized to serve Hashem, it must be he discovered Hashem at the age of 3. But no. Rav Yochanan Zweig explains this differently. He says, the Rambam says the age is whatever the Rambam said, that's when he discovered Hashem. But the pshat is, he didn't just start from scratch. Maybe initially he did, but at a certain point, he utilized all of those years, going back to the time he was 3. During those times, he was worshiping every single type of Avodah Zarah in the world, but he utilized all of those years to help other people. He was able to understand and relate to those people who were also worshiping idols. He didn't just touch himself up as like a bad person who was worshiping idols and let's just distance ourselves from that and move on. And when the Gemara says about Shuva stands on a level that not even a Tzaddik Gomer could stand, Rav Yochanan Zweig explained, we learn from the pasuk itself, it's referring specifically to one type of Baal Tshuva, the Baal Tshuva who utilizes the Rachok aspect to him to also be Makari of others. But if he destroys the part that appeared to be Rachok from him, that's not on a higher level than a Tzaddik Gomer. The Tzaddik Gomer is for sure on a higher level than he is. But someone who is able to utilize all of their life to the service of Hashem in whatever way, whether that's bin Adam l'makom, bin Adam l'tfilah, that's a great person, someone with an enormous potential. And I feel it must be an English word that could have said all of this in one word, even more accurate than what I just said. But perhaps the word is authenticity and in touch with one's feelings and a just respecting. Maybe it's respecting oneself, respecting themselves, regardless of going all the way back, realizing this was part of who they were, these experiences, what they went through, this is also part of them, and this is all a connection. There's no question in my mind that because of this, I think it is extra meaningful to Menachem that there is someone from the Epstein Hebrew Academy class that's here, because those years were not just forgotten about. They were not forgotten about. By many people, it's those years are forgotten about, and there's no meaning. It doesn't have the same meaning. I think you see someone who does that has many, many more years of character growth than other people, because the other people dropped those years and moved on. So the first 15, 16 years of their life have been dropped. So you know, that's what we're dealing with. So anyways, so we go back to the year 20, it was 2015, it was in the winter. And there was this, I get this text from a Rebbe in the Weizner Cheder in Chicago, this text saying that New York, there's an historical snowstorm that's going to be hitting New York this weekend. And the numbers he was telling me, so I'm very into the weather, but in this case, I was so jealous. Like I was actually in pain. I do not suffer from jealousy. That's not my natural. I have plenty of nisyonos, but not jealousy. But in this area, it's the strangest thing. Who's ever heard of someone who's actually genuinely jealous, in pain, that I'm not going to be able to be there for this 30 to 40 inch snowstorm? Like, in pain. This is total craziness. Like, no one could, even if I say I'm jealous, no one really believes, like, yeah, he's saying he's jealous, like he's crazy, like whatever, he's trying to be funny. But I was in a lot of pain. I didn't even want to talk to him about it. Okay. And finally, I think maybe he did chop, like that he was really getting me upset. And then I just texted him. I texted him, I'm not texting you any more weather texts. until Chicago gets an 18-inch storm. You know what? That part of the story, this is a tangent, so I'm getting a little bit sidetracked, so I'm going to drop that part of the story. But this is the important part. Okay, so that night, I get a phone call, and it's from Menachem. And Menachem lives in New York. Okay, now what should have happened is I should have picked up the phone, and I should have said, hi, like, he says, hey, Menachem, how are you? Like, we haven't spoken for a while, like, how are things going? But that's not what happened. I picked up the phone, and I was so jealous. Like, I didn't even say hi. I do not remember saying hi. I do not remember asking him how he's doing. I just said, dude, I said something like, I am so jealous. I am so jealous. I can't talk about it. I'm so jealous. And then Menachem says, I know. That's why I called. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I called to tell you that the storm is canceled. So I was like, what are you talking about? He said I don't know if he said the National Weather Service, they're no longer forecasting a historical storm. And it's so sad that made my night. Like, I'm like, I have to look into this. So then I called the National Weather Service in New York, and I heard the same numbers, a little bit. They said 18 to 24 inches. Well, that's not quite 30 to 40 inches. And then they added in the word possible, 18 to 24 inches possible. So it did seem like things changed, and Menachem is right. Okay, now, if you really think about that story, like me having that problem of being jealous over a place that's getting 40 inches, so I might take it for granted. If I don't really think about it, I might take it for granted. Sure, people get jealous, blah, blah, blah. But come on, how in the world did he know? How in the world did Menachem know that I would actually be in pain? Like, you've got to be able to read people. It has to be someone who's able to read people really well and is a true nosei b'ol chavero. Like, empathy, the difference in sympathy and empathy. I don't know what sympathy is. Empathy is you're able to put yourself in the other person's shoes. The only possible way a person could realize that there's someone in pain over total Narishkeit, that we're not talking about sports Narishkeit where the whole world is into it. So a Narishkeit that nobody is into, the person has to be an empathetic person. Plus, I don't think he was upset at me for not saying hi, and I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, but that's a very, very powerful story, I think. And that is, in that story, you see empathy being taken to the most extreme level that fathomable. Like and it's not like, it also wasn't like, he's not saying like I'm crazy. Like it was validating, my feelings were validated also. So like, it was exactly what other people would go through with sports. Like, someone's very jealous because the other New York is going to be making it into the Super Bowl and their team isn't, and then their friend calls them to tell them, by the way, actually it's your team that's going to be making it into the Super Bowl. But the end of the story is actually Chicago ended up getting an enormous snowstorm. That's what ended up happening, but that's the tangent part. So there is a lot to that story. Okay. Wow, that just took me 8 minutes and 20 seconds. So that's something I didn't say in this recording that you're about to hear. And there's one more thing I want to say about Tali in just a second. the final words here, actually, I'm going to tell you, Menachem, that at the very end, when I met your Kala, you can easily see that there's something very special. It was different than from the other Kalas I've met. Like usually when, my friend introduces me to his Kala, like it's just like, hi, like, okay, you're Simcha Lefton, okay, now, fine. But it was clear, like, your Kala, like, she was very much machshiv. It was touching, actually. It looked like it was touching to her, and like, it was true respect. It felt more respectful than the usual. So I think, only met her once, but I can easily see how this is a great pair. I think relationships, that's where it is. And I think that it's going to be deep, the two of you, the relationship. Just both of you are really, really machshav people, human beings, probably because they're B'Tselem Elokim. And those are my final words. May you be zeicha to build a Bais Neman be Yisrael. And please stay in touch. If you are interested in moving to Chicago, no pressure at all, but I will gladly help you in any way that you need. To sum it up, I don't know who's going to listen to this, just myself. But I think this is the greatest chasana that I've ever been to. The simcha. There can be many reasons why I'm so b'simcha. I feel very present at this chasana. I don't have kids here, but in general, very present, very involved. And besides for this little recording I'm making right now, where I'm standing right outside the building, the simcha is really unbelievable. The achdus, the relationships involved, in a lot of the sensitivity that is seen at this chasana, such as giving a special place for the shadchanim to sit, and there were other things as well. I think that comes from Menachem. Those parts are from Menachem, and a lot of the ruach was from Menachem in particular. Of course, Menachem is a menshel, so they're connected. And perhaps the dancing down the aisle was a menshel thing, but it was just totally awesome. And my wife pointed out, she thought this was absolutely beautiful. It's something that's done at Sfard chasanas, she tells me, but she thinks it's beautiful that the chasan walked the kala down the aisle. It's like he's bringing her into his home, and it's just a very kavadik way of doing things. And it's Menachem, the last name Menshel. Menshel actually doesn't seem to match up to Ruach, even though it does, but it matches up to being a mensch. And I think our chassan here tonight knows how to be mechaved people. I might be saying that word with the wrong nikudos. Someone told me I was. Okay, but how to give people proper kavod and to really treat people with respect and think about others, and to even remember incidents from childhood, which makes a person a balachrayas to be makir tov to them, or to even feel bad about something that they did. I don't think there's anybody I've spoken to who does that outside of Menachem. I can tell you things that there's one other person that also brings that part of his life into his life, but it does not get incorporated. As of now, it's not being incorporated in a positive energy that it has in our chassan here tonight. I will say that it was an electrifying, the energy is electrifying. I'm going to walk right back in a moment. But even I was looking at behind the chuppah, the clouds, the winds. There was no thunder, I don't think, but the updrafts. I just saw the energetic environment, even in the physical environment. It was like the world was responding. So I wish, there's no doubt, I'm sure, as we've said, clearly said, that everyone thought Tali's the perfect, everyone understood right away why this is the perfect shidduch for Menachem. So I wish the two of you really the greatest. You should grow in your relationship more and more. And I know relationships mean a lot. And be zeicha to build a Bais Neman, B'Yisrael, which I have no doubt will be done. I know that by Menachem, I could tell you that his foundation for Torah is much, much deeper than what I wouldn't say than what meets the eye, because I don't want to. It's I'll say the Yesodos, like his roots. Menachem, your roots in Torah. I don't know who I'm talking to, but the roots in Torah are very, very, very deep, and sometimes more in the black hat world, I would say. People are looking more for like a black hat or something like that. If there is no black hat, they have kashas. But they could have kashas and everything, but it's the foundation of Torah is as deep as it gets. Like for Yiddishkeit, and it's deeply enrooted. Even it's been passed on. That's been passed on that's a generational thing. That's been Rabbi Menshel and Rebbetzin Menshel. She also had this. My father said there's only a handful of women who know how to read Tanakh on their own, who go to the actual sources. My father said that in St. Louis, and one of them was Rebbetzin Menshel. So, and to this day, I love the niggin Yom Zeh Mechubad, Yom Zeh Mechubad Mikol Yom, only because of Menachem, your bar mitzvah. Your father sang that song with a certain ruach, and I'll never forget it. Up until that point, I did not like that niggin. I liked the song Yom Zeh Mechubad Mikol Yom, because that has a niggin to it. But Yom Zeh Mechubad, that didn't sound like a niggin. But it may not sound like a niggin, but the amount of ruach that could get put into it is on the highest madriga possible. Either that or it just looked like that. So that became my favorite niggin, and I do not repeat. I follow the Menshel minhag of I do not repeat the line. I don't go back and repeat because that's the Menshel minhag. So, that's the way it goes. Again, words cannot express the emotions and the positive feelings I have about everything here tonight. And maybe this is too long, maybe you'll hear it, maybe not, maybe I'll make another version. Mazel tov. We wish you only the best.